Hi guys, it's Claire.
And Kelly, and we're at school right now. As you can
Yep.
see, we couldn't find a place to make a video.
Yeah, so we just decided to come to campus. This is, I think, our fourth video of Kelly and Claire's recovery. And this video is on treatment and things to look for when you're going to treatment.
We're a little fussy when it comes to treatment facilities.
Yeah, we're kind of picky, but you know
it's okay.
Yeah, it's important.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is the size of the groups. Me and Claire both had really different experiences in terms of like going away, but when we were first in treatment together, there was 17 of us in a little room all day, and that was really hard. You didn't really have a lot of personal space, and there was 13-year-olds to 30-year-olds, so that was really hard. And then when I went to inpatient the first time, it was up to 40 girls, and the ages were from 13 to 70, so that was also really hard to relate.
It's a lot of different ages and a lot of people. I mean, if you think about it, you're not really gonna have a lot of, you might not get the time to talk and share that you need with that many people.
Yeah. And then when I was in treatment the last time, it was 8 girls, and it was for 18 and older. So that really helped bring us all together, because we were all different ages, but we were kind of past the whole, what do I say when I go back to high school? What am I gonna say when people ask me where I was? You don't really deal with that when you're older.
Yeah, the last time when I went to treatment, it was kind of a similar situation. I was with 18 and older, and there were up to 10 of us. So it was a nice change from the first time I went away, which was, at least 20 girls. And I guess it depends on what you really want. If you're okay in a big group of people, that's great. But I think for me, it was better to have a smaller number.
I felt like I was just a little fish in a big sea, kind of.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get comfortable, even though I was there for over 12 weeks. I don't think I spoke more than 3 sentences the entire time I was there, because I was so scared of how big the groups were. So it really depends on what you're like. If you're comfortable jumping into a big group of people, it might work for you. For us, we're both pretty quiet and reserved, which isn't a bad thing.
No.
But it was easier for us.
Yeah. So our second one we have is meal planning, which is a big one. We both have been to places where we've counted calories and done exchanges, and for me personally, I know that exchanges work a whole lot better than counting calories, because I know for me, outside of treatment, that was a big thing. That was a behavior that I used, and so doing that in treatment didn't really work too well for me.
No, it kind of feeds into
it
totally feeds into it.
Yeah.
So like Claire said, I never counted calories before treatment, and when I started counting, it was like a running calculator in my head all the time. And it's not really normal when you're in the outside world to count your calories. So when I left treatment, I basically developed another eating disorder symptom of counting and measuring every little thing. I couldn't go out to eat. I couldn't have a variety of foods because I didn't know how much was in it. Exchanges worked really, really well for me. You can be more flexible with it, I think. So if you want, instead of having half a bagel in the morning for breakfast,
you could have cereal.
You can easily change it up. In my last treatment facility, we did intuitive eating, which was really nice, but I don't think it's realistic when you're first coming out of treatment, because you still don't have hunger cues are off, and that didn't really work well for me. I think that even though I don't meal plan really, I think meal planning is important.
Yeah.
Not necessarily even planning everything you're gonna eat, but like having meal planning guidelines, like if you do with exchanges.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so our next one is you never really know what insurance is going to do, so try not to like focus on it. I know when I was in treatment the last time, I literally worried about it every single day.
She was gone forever.
I was gone for a really long time.
So was I though.
Yeah, and like every day I would complain to my therapist and like worry and like tell her like, oh my gosh, insurance is gonna cut me off, and like I was so focused on it, but like really like you just have to take the time that you have and like work on what you're there to work on.
My first time being away, like my first treatments, like the entire thing was 7 months, and insurance still didn't cut me. So I spent a lot of time worrying, and then I was really angry, like, why isn't insurance cutting me? Like, I want to be done with treatment. But appreciate the time you have in treatment because you never know how long it's going to last. Some people can be there for 6 months, some people can be there for a week. And that's been the case for a lot of friends that we've known that have been in treatment.
Yeah, so if you're lucky enough to like have a long time in treatment, that is awesome. But you know, if you don't, just make the most of it because you really don't know how long, you know, you're gonna have.
Also, like what we forgot to mention is behaviors might be mentioned in this video, so we're not doing it to trigger you, but just to kind of give examples of what we're talking about. And I know a big thing is a couple of my friends recently are in treatment, and insurance companies sometimes suck when it comes to covering eating disorder treatment. And a lot of girls I know kind of say like, oh, well, it's because I'm not underweight and that's why they're not covering me. And that's not really always the case. Like, I had 2 friends that had the same insurance. Their bodies were both completely different and kind of opposite spectrums, and neither one of them were covered for very long. They're both gone from treatment within like 3 to 4 weeks. It had nothing to do with their symptoms or severity of their eating disorder. It's just their insurance company sucks.
Yeah, insurance companies really don't like eating disorders. They don't like covering eating disorders. They don't understand. So like really try not to take it personally. Like if it happens where you get cut and you know you don't know why, a lot of times like everybody doesn't know why. It's just that's what insurance companies like to do.
Plus like when you do I forget what it's called, when like you fight, like if an insurance company denies you and then your team fights for you to like go to treatment, a lot of the times the people that they're fighting with aren't really educated in eating disorders, so they don't really know what they're talking about. They kind of go back to the stereotypical, well, she doesn't weigh X amount, she's like, they don't really know what to look for, I don't think.
Yeah. So then our next one is it's normal to act out before you leave. And what we mean by that is basically it's normal to use behaviors before you leave because
you're scared.
You're scared, yeah, exactly.
You are in a facility for so long and all you do is like want to leave, but then the thought of leaving like your safety net in a place that you grew so comfortable to be in, like that's terrifying because then you're going to the real world again, whereas if you're in treatment you're in a little bubble protected from everything.
Yeah, exactly. And even like if we talk about like it's normal, and before you even go to treatment, like I just thought of this, it's normal to act out because like you know that you want to be the sickest and you know that you're going to be in there and you're going to have to like do everything you're afraid of doing, so you're like, well, I just need to get everything in now and like use all the behaviors I can. So like that's another way that can kind of apply to this too.
And if you are going to treatment, it's really helpful to know that like everyone there is in the same position. So I remember like my first time in each treatment facility, I was like, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. And then I saw everyone else doing it, so it made it a lot easier for me to sit down to a meal and eat without using behaviors because everyone else was doing it too.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you see other people like kind of setting an example, you want to do the same thing.
And kind of to go off what Claire said, before you go to treatment, if you are trying to get sicker, it's just a bigger hole you're going to have to climb yourself out of, and it's not fun as it is. So the worse it gets, the harder you're going to have to work to get out of it.
Exactly.
Okay, our next one is you need to look if the treatment facility is more group-based or individualized and what works best for you. Our first time in treatment together was
all group.
It was all group.
Yeah.
You had if you were lucky, you had 30 minutes with the therapist a week. It was very superficial. You didn't really get to the depth of anything. So if you were struggling with trauma or OCD or depression or even self-harm,
it didn't really get addressed.
No.
And some people really like group, and group can be good, because you can bounce ideas off of other people, you can get other people's feedback. But I know for me, it really worked when I went away and I had a lot of individual time doing different things. Like we did neurofeedback, we did EMDR, we did, individual counseling. We did a lot of individual stuff with groups too. So it was a really good mix.
My first time going away, it was a lot of group. It was quite a bit of individual, but it was still pretty much group based. And because it was such a big facility, if you needed your therapist, it was kind of hard to get in touch with them because they were probably with somebody else. But the second time I went away, the most recent, when I was really, really struggling with my depression, they really individualized the program for me, and I had a lot of individual time, and the therapy was a lot different. Like, it wasn't your typical DBT, CBT. It was equine therapy and exposure therapy and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it really depends on personality.
Yep, and what you're looking for. Then we also wanted to talk about slipping versus relapse when you leave treatment. Just because you slip or you use a behavior like right when you leave doesn't mean that you've all of a sudden relapsed.
My first time leaving treatment after the 7 months, I used a behavior the day after I got home, and then I went to my dietitian's office bawling my eyes out that I used this behavior, saying I relapsed, and I had to go to treatment, and everything that I worked for in the last 7 months disappeared because I used one behavior. And it took me a really long time to realize that as long as you pick yourself up from your slip, like, don't forget about all of the hard work that you put in before that slip up. Like, it doesn't really, as long as you bounce back from it, versus a relapse where if it continuously goes on and you keep saying, like, oh, I just slipped, oh, the next day, oh, I just slipped, oh, I just slipped 5 times today. Like, that's when you the more it happens is you kind of have to be more cautious because that could eventually, like, that slippery slope can turn into a really bad relapse.
Yeah, like, don't get, if you do use a behavior or you slip a little bit, just don't get stuck in it. Realize that you can pick yourself back up because you're not going to have a perfect recovery, but the more you kind of dwell in oh my gosh, I'm slipping, the more you're going to fall back. So just kind of make sure you pick yourself up.
And the last one we want to talk about is the importance of structure when you're leaving the treatment facility. I like chaos, and I like to be really busy, and the thought of when you're in treatment and then you have the weekends to yourself if you're in partial or when you have downtime in residential or inpatient, you're exhausted. Yeah. So you want to rest, and that's basically all you do is when you're not in group, you're resting, you're sleeping, you're relaxing. And it's terrifying to go home when your complete day was planned for you.
Yeah. And you're kind of coming home to
nothing.
Exactly, yeah.
So some things that were helpful for us were planning out our meal times was really, really helpful. And
Yeah.
also, like, if you struggle with urges afterwards, try and think of something fun to do after.
Yeah. And don't isolate yourself. Like,
Yeah.
make sure that you're socializing and you're going out with friends and everything. Like, it's really important to schedule your meal times, but also make sure that you're not just sitting home by yourself.
Because sitting home all day by yourself, you feel like you're just eating all day, and that's not really helpful.
Yeah.
Even if you don't, like, if your friends are busy or they're at work, like, I know it was helpful for me sometimes to, like, take my meal to a coffee shop and bring, like, crochet stuff or an activity that I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
Bring a book.
A book,
and
yeah.
Even just, like, go to a bookstore and, like, read or whatever you enjoy doing. Just make sure you're not just sitting home and focusing on what you're eating all day.
Yeah, make sure that you have like activities planned and things that you can do to distract yourself.
Yeah.
So.
But that's the end of this video. Sorry,
Yeah.
it was a little bit long, but we think
No.
this is important.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know what to look for when you're going to treatment. So
Yeah.
hopefully this was helpful for you
Yeah.
guys.
All right. Well, we'll talk soon. Bye.